talk for today, Purrgil swarm. Does anybody know what a Purrgil is? Wow. Okay. Anyways, that was a bad reference. So, hacking and defending drone swarms and their future. Um, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. First thing I put on is a little video just for fun, and I guess we can play it while people are coming in. So, uh, yeah, I don't know if the audio works or not. Okay. Doop, 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 doop. I guess I have to do commentary because the TOS will probably I'll get permabanned if I don't. Does anybody know what movie this is from? You do? I think it was like Olympus Was Fallen or something, or White House Down. Yeah, one of those. It was a really good scene. Yeah, this kind of is what sort of spawned the talk because I was watching this one day and I was like, oh, or watching this clip, but um, obviously sci-fi, but man, this is like 10 years ago or something. I think was it? It was like 10 years ago. This is an old movie. It's an older movie. 7 years maybe. Hey guys, we're doing DEF CON movie night. You guys just showed up in time. Cool. You know what's older than this movie is the real life military test evaluation that they did with this, but we'll talk about that later. Um, cool. Disclaimer. Yeah, it pretty much says it all. I'm not. Yeah, it's educational purposes. Well, whatever. Something. Cool. All right. Introduction. Let's get to know each other better. I do introductions a little bit different. Normally, this is where I would introduce myself as the speaker and tell you some interesting shit about myself. And I don't want to do that. I kind of want to get to know you guys because I want to know my audience that I'm talking to. So, who are you? Who's flown a drone in here before, or has piloted a drone? Has controlled a drone through a computer, or has programmed it? Cool. A lot of people. All right. Who's built a drone from scratch? Cool. All right. Who has their Part 107? You got your Part 107? You took a class, but you could take the test? Badass. Cool. All right. Nobody's filed a waiver because nobody has their Part 107. Who works in aviation in here or has worked in aviation? What did you do? I'm just curious. Say again? Okay, sweet. Any feds in here? No, just kidding. All right, cool. We'll move on. All right. Who am I? I'll tell you who I am not. I am not a Fed anymore. I am not a drone expert, and I am not a programmer. I always have to put it in there because I'm telling you, if I put a line of Python in here, I will get weird questions, and people will suddenly think I'm a programmer. I'm not. Who am I though? That's my name. I am currently a security engineer. I work for a medical company, senior medical company called ChenMed, or Dedicated, or GenCare, or it just depends on where you're at. I don't know. I used to be a pen tester. Pretty cool. I know a lot of people here, especially at these cons, want to get into pen testing. Let me tell you, it is like a small portion of what cybersecurity is or information security is. But everyone should be a pen tester at the job. You should always be thinking of the adversary. So I'm a Linux user. I use Arch Linux. I'm mandated to tell you that. I gave a presentation at DEF CON to my coworkers about why Arch Linux is badass. So they bullied me into doing that. I'm an avid self-hoster. That's my server rack right there. I have a very expensive electric bill. It's like $400 a month or something. And I used to be an avionics technician. Is someone got a picture up there? I'm I'm there somewhere. As you can tell, that's a Navy air or it's a military aircraft. So I was in the military. That's where I did my aviation. Some other things about me: I'm a photographer, a videographer. I love that. That's kind of what got me into drones. Actually, was videography. I'm a scuba diver. Also, I did underwater videography. I liked it so much. I was like, why don't I just do it up in the sky? And so I did that. Um, Drone enthusiast. I want to mention this again. I'm not a drone expert. I can answer some questions. I cannot answer them all. I love flying drones. They are fun. I've flown them all over the world. Don't tell anybody that because it probably was illegal. Just another thing too. If you have flown a drone, you have most likely broken at least one law. Everyone takes their first drone and fucking yoinks it all the way up in the sky as high as they can, and breaks like a ton of federal laws doing that. It's just part of it. You just got to be. I'm a musician. I'm a pianist. I've been playing piano for like I don't know how long, like 16 years or something now. I went to college originally for music composition and theory. I was going to be a composer, realized there's no money in that, so now I do this. What else? Cyclist. I love Star Wars. Star Wars, huge Star Wars fan. I love traveling, not taking cruises and going on vacations. Traveling. I backpack. I've done it 3 times. I like go all kinds of places. It's not on this slide, but one of the countries I went to was Ukraine. I went there like 2 years ago. I go all over the place. I love trains, by the way. I'm a oh, what's the word? I just learned this long ago. I'm a foamer, so yes. Um, Fast cars. I used to like fast cars. I crashed mine. I haven't had a fast car in a while. A gamer. I think everyone's a gamer. But whatever. I am a gamer. I play games. And I like cosplay. I do cosplay. I go to anime conventions. I think it was in the last slide. It was cosplay. There you go. Boom. Cool. All right. Now you know everything about me. All right. Expectations. What I'm not going to teach you is how to fly a drone. I'm not here to do that. Not how to build a drone. I'm not going to teach you how to pass your Part 107, although nobody's here. Like, yeah, so I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to teach you how to do illegal things. That's going to be totally up to you. What we are going to learn about drone communication protocols. Boring, but we're all here. So policies, right? Also boring. Policies and regulations, boring, but we're here to learn that too. Emerging tech could be cool. Recent events, yeah. Methods of exploitation, CVs, POCs, OMG, and more. Cool. What's a drone? That's a drone. That is a that's a Trident. I don't know what the abbreviation MQ4 or something. It's a Trident. It's supposed to go. It is the counterpart to the aircraft that I used to work on. They have them. They have the operations center of like 10 minutes from my house, but they fly the drones elsewhere. These things are badass. I don't know if you know anything about them. Look them up. Trident aircraft. They do like 24/7 maritime surveillance. They are supposed to replace the EP3 Charlies, which were doing like in country. I can't talk about some of this stuff. Anyways, they drones are unmanned aerial vehicles. Sometimes you might hear them called UAVs, UASs. Shit changes all the time. So they can be piloted remotely or autonomously. Oh, cool thing. They can fly these fucking things from airplanes. I'm kid you not. The aircraft that I work on had a dedicated station where they would fly the drone from the aircraft, and there would be there would be a pilot flying the airplane, and there'd be a pilot flying the drone in the airplane with the pilots that were flying the airplane. It was pretty cool. So what is like some typical equipment on airplanes besides the propellers and the motors and the battery? You have cameras. Not all drones have cameras. Most of them have some type of camera. Like the ones I think you get from Walmart, $30, $40 ones might not have cameras. Little ones that your grandma gets you for, Christmas might not have a camera on it. But a lot of them have cameras. Sensors. When I'm talking about sensors, I'm usually talking about like proximity sensors. They'll have like ground indicators. Like usually when a drone's coming down, it doesn't smack into the fucking ground. It'll be like, oh, ground, and it'll land gracefully. If you've ever flown a drone into a tree, it probably didn't have a proximity sensor on it. And if you did, it probably did, and it just didn't go off. Payloads. It could be anything. Like, if you think about it, like SAR payloads might be like dropping water on stuff, or payload, yeah, just Ukraine fucking dropping grenades on people. That's a payload. Radios and antennas, they have lots of like radios and antennas. They got to communicate with the ground controller, and they also need to communicate with like GPS satellites and stuff. So they have all kinds, and they communicate with each other because we're talking about swarms. So they need radios and they need antennas and lights. Drones are supposed to have lights on them. Some people add more lights on them. It's preference. What is a drone swarm? That's a drone swarm. And I think it's kind of cool that they made two drones on an aircraft carrier that are made of drones. So that's in China. I can't remember the name of the city. But they just like launch a bunch of them all the time. They just keep breaking records. Like I think they did like 1,000 drones in this one. Broke a Guinness Book of World Records. Drone swarms are communicated groups of drones. There's multiple drones. Um, they fly together as a single system, and this is the important one, is that they can be either centralized or decentralized. So a centralized drone swarm means that they receive controls from a single operator or computer, right? And decentralized means that the drone swarm it's more autonomous, but they receive instructions from each other, right? They're communicating to each other. So that's the difference right there. And you can do hybrid ones. You can do ones where maybe you're talking to one drone up in the sky and that drone relays the communication to the other ones, or you provide it tasks and they just automatically do whatever they're supposed to do. They accomplish tasks collaboratively. How they do that, again, it depends if it's centralized or decentralized. And they share data with each other to avoid collisions. That again can either be done on the computer where they tell each other where they're at, or it can be done if they're decentralized and they're communicating with each other. All that telemetry about position, high altitude, and stuff. They need to share that with each other. That gets broadcasted. This is just a short video of what I was just talking about a second ago. That's cool. I used to think drone video, like the drone light shows, were boring, but like these are kind of cool actually. And that's what they look like. By the way, these aren't super expensive. I wanted to include a slide about how to build them, but it kind of got a little long. And that's why I said I'm not teaching you how to build drones. All right. So concerns with drone swarms. They are pretty much the same concerns with drones, right? But there's some caveats involved with it. So privacy is a huge one. I know that it wasn't too long ago that I saw it. It was a lot of people were complaining about privacy, about their neighbors or somebody spying on them with drones, and they're going to shoot a drone out of the sky. Very illegal, federal crime. But privacy is a huge concern. We'll talk about that later. And but privacy isn't just about collecting video, right? Because these drones could have sensors on them, right? They could be doing war driving. Imagine doing war driving with a drone. I mean, if I remember correctly, somebody did hook up a Wi-Fi pineapple to a drone and then flew it up to a building and then just started executing their mission with, because they didn't have to go into the building, just flew it up there. So cool. Safety concerns. You have to think of safety concerns in the sky and on the ground. We're especially concerned with piloted aircraft, and this has become an issue. I haven't seen it lately, but when drones were becoming more popular and they were outpacing the knowledge that people have, because what happens is when you have more drones and you have more knowledgeable pilots, you have people sharing information, and so people are saying don't do that stupid shit, right? But when they're new and people aren't sure about the law, they'll fly a drone into an active wildfire and then an aircraft will hit it and then they'll get arrested. That actually happened last year. And they found out exactly who that person was. Adoption into law. I will say that that's actually getting pretty better. That's actually getting better. They release new regulations every year and they're actually pretty on top of it. The drone laws are actually pretty robust, but drone swarm laws are kind of like a ceiling. They kind of hit you. They say no, and we kind of want to get past that, right? We kind of want to maybe make the regulations, I wouldn't say looser, but more than just a no. Because right now the regulation. We'll go over the regulations later. And weaponization. That's a big one. That doesn't really concern us because we are not allowed to put weapons on our drones. But you know, this happened last year. This is in Orlando. Anybody from Orlando? Anybody know where this is at? Perfect. Yeah, this happened last year. There was a one injury from this. Yeah, just raining drones. I'm pretty sure one hit like a small child and injured him. Sad. This is the boring part, but I like this. This is fun. 49 U.S. Code, Chapter 448 is what regulates from the federal level UASs, right? It covers UASs, defines them as unmanned aircraft systems. It puts it regulates UASs under 55 pounds, right? Which doesn't sound like a lot. That's a heavy drone. 55 pounds is pretty big. Anything above that, and it's basically like an unmanned like aircraft. And I'm not talking like I'm talking like an actual aircraft. Let's see. This is the part I'm gonna have to read off a little bit because this is boring. Integrates civil UAS into national airspace. That's a big one, right? So as a drone pilot, you are now part of the national airspace, which is a huge thing. The federal government covers this, right? And I do want to mention this that you can become part of the national airspace today without a Part 107 buying a drone at Walmart. So these are important to know, and people don't. I really wish they would put like stickers or information in the drones, informing people about this stuff before they go and buy these, thinking that they're toys when they're actually not. Um, it defines exceptions for recreational use without an FAA certification. This is what I was just talking about. Those are going to be below 400 feet. That's Class G airspace. Maintaining VLOS, which is visual line of sight. You have to constantly see this fucker in the sky. You can't just send it away and use the camera. We'll cover that later. They have to be registered and marked accordingly with an asterisk. There is an exception to that, and we'll go over that in a second. Actually, wait, did I cover it here at all? I do not. It is below. Does anybody know what it is? I can't remember from my head. Below 48. I think I can't remember. Anyways, the one I know is the Mavic Mini 3 and 2 and whatever. All the Mavic Minis. You can buy those and you don't need a license. You can just buy it and fly it. Like there's no requirement to be there's no requirement for the drone to be registered. You don't have to be licensed to fly any of these drones below 55 pounds. You do, however, have to have the drone registered. And this is a newer thing. ECFR Title 14, Chapter 1, Part 107 covers small unmanned aircraft systems. This is the FAA right here. It covers aircraft operations as well. And the next one, which is ECFR Title 47, Chapter 1, Part 88. This is the more specific one. Covers uncrewed aircraft system services, right? It lists out DFMS, 5030 to 5091 megahertz. By the way, this is new. This is a new thing that the FCC came out with, because before drones would have to fly on a shared frequency. If I'm not mistaken, it was 5040 to 5060 megahertz, right? And the problem with this is that it is not a dedicated frequency. Any ham radio operators in here? I know you guys are ham radio. So not having like a dedicated frequency to something means that there can be other things on that frequency that can disrupt it, that can cause there could be like there could just be signal issues with people congesting a frequency. So they're giving drones a dedicated frequency to operate off of, which is huge. And 5040 to 5050 is designated CNPC, which is control and non-payload communication back and forth between the drone and the ground control station. If I say GCS, that's talking about the ground control station, which is either going to be the human, the computer that's operating it, if it's autonomous, or if it's flying off of a computer. So that's what that is. We live in Florida, so we're going to cover Florida state statute. So I want to cover something real quick. If you notice, FAA covers the airspace and flying and all the things you can and can't do while flying. Florida is going to cover privacy and other things that aren't necessarily involved with flying a drone, but think of this like as payload. So you can't operate drones over critical infrastructure. Very important. Talking like nuclear power facilities or any power facility, jails, schools, anything that does power generation, anything that's part of like trains and railroads is another one. logistics centers, and we'll talk about a specific one too in a second. Prohibits drones from gathering surveillance of private property owners. So this is a weird one. You can fly your drone, and this is not legal advice. You can fly your drone in the sky, record video, and capture your neighbor and whatever in their private property, and it's totally fine. What you can't do is spy on your neighbor. So, is anybody here familiar with like laws and anything? Okay, it's intent. Intent is the biggest thing. Intent is very difficult to prove on some instances, but like if you do get records subpoenaed and stuff, and you have like text messages, and they do find out that you were intending to spy on your neighbor, that is a big deal. So don't do that. It prohibits flying, landing, and launching drones over and on state parks and state forests. So the federal government covers federal land, and then the state government covers state land. So that's like the only instance where they say you can't fly drones here. Other than that, like where they regulate airspace. Other than that, it's up to the federal government, and prohibits drones from being launched and landing on district lands. And then Port Canaveral, which is the local authority, the only thing that they do is they define Port Canaveral as critical infrastructure. So as you see, it starts small. The local government says this is critical infrastructure. We don't want you to fly here. The state government gives you the outlines for that, and the federal government says, hey, you can fly like this size drone, this weight, whatever. It has to be registered in that. So the boring part's over. The only other thing I want to talk about is a Part 107 waiver. Part 107 is when I talk about Part 107, I'm talking about ECFR Title 14, Chapter 1, Part 107. It's colloquially known as Part 107 in the drone community. Part 107.35, the operation of multiple small unmanned aircraft. This is what I was talking about earlier. A person may not. It just says no. It just says don't. You can't do it. That's all it says. But there's a waiver that you can submit, right? The waiver just needs to include the description of operations, location, altitude, aircraft, platform, pilot, the risks involved with it, how long you're going to be flying it. Are you going to be flying it daytime, nighttime? What's the goal of this, right? Is it for a company? Is it for commercial use? Oh, that's another thing I forgot to cover. Commercial drone operation, you are required to have a Part 107. So if you have a small drone that's under the weight that the federal government says you can't have, and you use that for real estate, for property appraisal, for stuff, that's commercial drone piloting. You need a Part 107. I forgot to mention that in the slide. But anyways, you can submit waivers, and this is how you do it. This is how a lot of companies are able to fly drone swarms in the United States commercially, is they apply for waivers. Amazon, Walmart, the people that fly the drones outside of the baseball stadium. I can't remember which one it is, but military application. Any Call of Duty fans here? So you guys know about like hunter killer drone swarms and stuff. Great. Black Ops is better, and score streaks are better than kill streaks. This should like trigger some PTSD in some people, but like getting like an enemy drone swarm called on you, and then just having them just come down and then just like impale you and just murder your team. So this is what I was talking about earlier. This was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. It is a little bit of a long video, but I think this is important to watch. Those are F-18s, by the way. And this is China Lake. I don't know if anybody knows where China Lake's located, but this is where they do a lot of tests and evaluation for the Navy and naval weapon systems. These guys are training their replacements. Literally. All right. This is the long part of the video. I probably should have cut it. Cool. Now for the fun part of the video. This is nuts. They deployed all those. A reminder, 10 years ago. This is before the war in Ukraine. This is before that we knew that drones were insanely effective in combat operations. And then they were doing a couple of tests. I believe they were testing them on like saying, hey, fly over this target, assemble in this area. But it'll tell you, like, it'll write it on the screen, like what they're doing. But right now they're just launching. execute first mission. They're giving them a waypoint. They're saying, hey, we need you to go here and then assemble the Avengers. And then, yeah. These drones are talking with each other, by the way. They're giving their flight telemetry to each other. They are coordinating on their own. So as you can see, this is what I was talking about when I was saying a decentralized command. Somebody is telling the drones what to do, and they are interpreting those commands. Another thing I want to talk about later is interpretation. And they say, hey, we need you to swarm this target, circle over them. It's crazy, man. And then close in on the target. By the way, as far as I know, this has not been deployed in warfare. So the stuff that you see in Ukraine is like one drone, two drones, like they'll launch a couple, but this has not been tested in warfare. This has not happened yet. And you can hear and see the drones flying around. I don't know if anyone has like experienced this. This shit is terrifying. So, this obviously is a huge ethical dilemma. I don't think the United States cares though, because we deploy cluster munitions and those are banned in the Geneva Convention. Autonomous lethality. Those words should be pretty scary. You're basically telling a system to like, so there's one thing to lace a target and say, hey, I'm going to fire a missile on this target. You get approval. You say, hey, I'm going to fire at this target. You get approval for it. You have to verify that the target is a legit threat. You launch. You still have a window of opportunity to abort at any point, and then lethal impact. Autonomous lethality is basically just saying like, hey, kill, and then they just do their own thing. Now, obviously, there's kill switches involved. Like you can terminate kill at any point, but it's still different. It's like the layers of complexity with conducting this type of warfare is different. You have a loss of human oversight, and the biggest one is drone warfare is not going. It's not going away. It's coming faster and harder, and it's just not going to go away anytime soon. So let's talk about fun stuff and get away from the jury subject. I wanted to get that stuff out of the way. Drone protocols. So two of the most popular ones are going to be Mavlink and OcuSync. DJI OcuSync is proprietary. We don't have any information about that. It's encrypted. It's not open source. Mavlink, on the other hand, is open source, well documented, well used by the community, and is free. So Mavlink is a lightweight open source protocol used by drones and ground stations to exchange messages, positions. I just said that. I don't even know why I use PowerPoint. It is optimized for low bandwidth links. This stuff's important. It is not universal. This is the biggest thing. So, like Tesla chargers and vehicle chargers, there's no universal communication method used for communicating with like drone communication. And so, but having something that is well recognized by the community is important. It is not encrypted. It is not encrypted. It is not designed to be encrypted because drone communication needs to be low latency, which means that you can't worry about encrypting and decrypting messages. You need to be able to have like flight telemetry and commands like that. You can't risk packages being stuck, right? So it's kind of like operates similar to UDP, right? Where like you're sending packages and if you miss one or two, whatever, like it'll catch the next one. So we're not worried about that. OcuSync, however, is encrypted. Is closed source, low latency, long range, encrypted RF communication link. Provides telemetry. You have a question?
Yeah, I just want to add something.
Yeah.
IETF RFC basically put out two RFCs, one specifically for authorizations, tags on the systems, and the other one is encrypted authentication tags in the air.
Yes. We will talk about that later, actually, because we go over Mavlink 1 and 2. So, and again, I want to emphasize, I don't know if you came in here earlier or not. I'm not a drone expert. So if I make a mistake, please feel free to correct me. This is all hobbyist information. I do not do this professionally. Have I mentioned that I'm a security engineer? I work for a medical company. Anyways, so closed source, low latency, blah, blah, blah. It does auto frequency hopping off of two ranges, 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz. Does anybody know what that frequency is used for? Wi-Fi, cool. Wi-Fi, awesome. Mavlink protocol. Here we go. There's two versions. There's version 1 and version 2. They provide multicast and they provide point-to-point communication. They provide both of these for different reasons. Let's see here. Mavlink is designed for resource-constrained systems and bandwidth-constrained links. When I was reading the documentation, I really liked that phrasing. Resource constrained systems. Let's just talk about these two things. Resource constrained systems. A device that has minimal battery power can output minimal electricity, has like small CPUs, has very small computing power. So this protocol has to be designed for systems that are very, very small. And bandwidth constrained links. This means that you are designing a protocol that is going to be in a harsh environment. And when I say harsh, I mean it's fucking flying in the sky. It has to be resilient. It has to be minimal. It has to be low overhead, and it has to be optimized, right? So when designing Mavlink, right, it's a lot different than designing anything else. Where it doesn't matter if we lose connection or whatever. No, this thing will fall out of the sky or will get stuck up there. Where are we at? Integrity checks. There are 2 integrity checks with Mavlink. There's CRC 16 and CRC extra. CRC stands for cyclical redundancy check. CRC 16 checks to see if the message got messed up, if there was any flipped or lost bits. It doesn't really care about the content of the message. It just cares about the message integrity, right? Think of it like a hash or something. CRC extras are defined in XML messages, and they have a unique ID, but the unique ID is not enough, right? So each message has a unique ID to it. The sender and the receiver have to agree on the fields, the field types, and the field meanings. And the reason why this is important is because if you have a ground station and a drone that are operating on different firmwares, or maybe they interpret the messages differently, it could mean the message that you're sending might not be the message that they're getting, right? Or it will be the same message, but it will be interpreted differently. So that's why it's important. Mavlink version 2 packet format. This is what it looks like. It's very similar to CAN. So I know we were talking a little bit about this. If you're familiar with CAN, it's not that much different. Like it is different, but it is it should be very familiar to get used to. It is minimum length of 12. The 12 is going to be what is it? It's a message check. And the longer one, which is 280, up to 280, by the way, not it doesn't have to be 280, is going to contain a message payload in that. Let's see here. I had a I did not get transitioned over. Whoops, I made a mistake. I was going to talk about the different checks. Good thing I memorized some of this. I don't remember what STX stands for. Crap. It just indicates the start of the message. So the STX part of the message is the beginning of the message. The length says this is the length of the message. You have your sequence, system ID, comp ID, the message itself, and then the payload after that, which is the content of the message, which is basically what you're telling the drone to do and what you're telling the drone not to do. These get sent very quickly, by the way. Drone swarm communication. So it should be said that Mavlink is not preferred, the communication method in drone swarms, but we talked about it because it is important. If you thought that drone communication is not very well standardized, this is super not standardized. There is really no because it's not well adopted in society. So it's kind of just like we'll talk about more. But anyways, you can use Mavlink. There is a hard limitation of 255. It can only handle up to 255 individual units in the sky at a time, and that is the max. It communicates over 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. We talked about that. And centralized and decentralized. We already discussed that. Vectors of attack. So I wasn't going to cover drone swarm communication, because like I said, I would have to hone in on a specific one, and there just really isn't anything specific. It's kind of the same way. Oh, we will talk about software to go over this in a second, though. So vectors of attack. As a hacker, we have to be able to um, identify what our target is, and we have to be able to think of ways that we're going to be able to attack it. Um, it depends on what your mission is, right? As a pen tester, one of the things we didn't do was we didn't do like DDoS attacks. Like that doesn't really prove anything to the client. It does show that their systems are vulnerable, but like, do they really want to have their systems go offline for 10 minutes just so that we can prove to them that we can do it? Would get me fired. So something you can do is signal jamming. Signal jamming is super illegal. Super illegal. They will find you eventually. If you do it more than once. It is very illegal. Like I don't even think there's just no way you would do it unless you're like the Navy and you fly EA-18 Growlers over California. Like they're not going to allow you to do signal jamming. Protocol injection. So I don't think we covered this. I might have not had it in my notes, but um uh I'm scared because maybe it might be later. We'll go over it now anyways. If it's later, we'll skip it. So Mavlink, when I talked about it, how it has point-to-point and broadcast communication. So there are two reasons why each of those communications exists. So point-to-point is going to be, I swear this was in here. Maybe I took it out. So point-to-point is going to be from controller to aircraft. And it's going to be including things like saying, hey, I want the aircraft to fly. I want the aircraft to stop. I want it to go increase altitude, decrease altitude, things that are important for telling the aircraft. What is broadcasted, however, is aircraft telemetry. The aircraft saying, hey, this is where I'm at. This is my flight speed. This is my altitude. This is my attitude if you're using fixed wing aircraft. It uses some of them have transmit ADSB, which is super super cool. If you know what ADSB is, go look up ADSB radar and you'll see they use it for tracking down Taylor Swift and stuff. It's pretty cool. You can run your own ADSB radar station from home. I live in the direct landing path of a naval station, so I love using ADSB radar, and I love spinning up my local frequencies whenever I can. You can do signal spoofing. So there's two types of spoofing. And Panda kind of talked about it a little bit with GPS in his talk. Like when you said what GPS is right until it's not right. Well, you can do signal spoofing, which is spoofing. You can spoof, let's say, for example, other drones in the area. Now, imagine if your drone is flying and you now have a signal being spoofed saying, hey, there's a drone right here, and it's going to try to avoid flying into it, right? Because it's listening to the data, to the telemetry of other systems in the area to coordinate with them. So you can literally spoof drones to potentially move them out of the way. And then GPS spoofing, which is super crazy. All these drones rely on GPS to know where they're at. So if you are able to spoof the GPS signal that these drones are getting, you could basically tell them that they are wherever they're. These phones won't typically fly without GPS. Like they'll start them up, but they won't launch. Actually, the way I take that back. I think DJI you can bypass. I haven't flown a DJI drone in a while. I got away from them. You can bypass the GPS, but I could be wrong on that. Data interception. I mean, is it really data interception when you're broadcasting it and it's not encrypted? So, I mean, it is, but yeah, Wi-Fi attacks. Ooh, super cool. It uses Wi-Fi frequencies. So you are open to Wi-Fi attacks. DOS attacks are free game, and everything else. You can use Wi-Fi Pineapple and just if you are familiar with the different vectors of Wi-Fi attacks, boom, drones. They use Wi-Fi to communicate with each other and the ground station. The fuck does that say? Desynchronization. I typoed. This is how you know it wasn't written by ChatGPT. I had to include one typo in there. Sometimes. Frequency hopping. So desynchronization or frequency hopping. So I barely covered this earlier, but DJI drones operate off of 2.4 and 5 gigahertz frequencies. They can do frequency hopping between the frequencies, but you can cause the drones to desynchronize off of the frequency that they're using to force them to hop onto another frequency. Let's say you have control over the 2.4 frequency and you want to force them off of that frequency, off the 5 gigahertz frequency, onto yours that you are controlling in the area. Cool. Supply chain, yeah, nobody in here is doing that, but you can, if you are able to. Supply chain is a hack. I only included that because we've seen a lot of supply chain hacks in the last couple of years, and it is important to mention them. They get like an honorable mention, but nobody in here is doing that. Actually, no, wait. No, because you can buy a lot of this stuff on yeah, no, never mind. That's a very important one. You can buy, like, people will throw up drone stores and stuff. So yeah, I take that back. That's important. If you imagine like you just create a drone store and you're selling drone hardware and you're just over there desoldering and resoldering on your own custom chips and you're selling them to people. Holy shit, that's crazy. Yeah, no, that's an important one to mention. I just thought about it. Kinetic, fly a drone like just straight into the drone swarm. Like that's a great way. Suicide drone, yeah. If there's like if somebody's having like a festival or something and they're doing a drone light storm, like a drone light show, and you want to fly your drone into it, that's great. DJI, I want to mention this right here. DJI removed geofencing the beginning of this year, which I personally think was politically motivated, because the United States is trying to tell China that they don't want to sell DJI drones in the United States. So they're like, cool, they can fly them anywhere they want now. Because before, if you tried to fly a drone into like an airport, or like I live near a football stadium, so I like to fly my drone outside for the football games. It would slow my speed down and prevent me from going within a geofence, like inside the geofenced area. Not anymore. So that's kind of cool. Exploitation and testing. So these are some cool tools that you can use. Drone exploit Mavlink is a GitHub repository. So if you want to memorize that and tag that and take a picture. Same thing with damn vulnerable drone. Those are both really cool repositories to use. Wireshark, obviously, you can use that to like look at any logs, and these are logs. Two really cool tools to use though is PX4 Flight Review. You can use PX4 Flight Review on the internet right now. You don't have to download it. You don't have to put it on your system. You can basically put your logs into the system and it will give you a graphical view of what your flight was like, and it will just basically like spell it out to you. People are in there like uploading all their flight logs. It's pretty cool. But it is a really cool way to visualize your flight. And then there's PX4 plus Gazebo. SITL and HITL stands for software on the line and hardware on the line. I'll go over that really quickly. So PX4 is the same software that we just talked about. And Gazebo is a virtualization software for like creating like simulators or something. Like think of like video games, right? Like Blender. Blender is another good example. You can fly drones using PX4 in Gazebo and basically simulate flight paths. So like if you, for example, wanted to test out hacking a drone or drone swarm, but you didn't want to buy a drone, or you didn't want to go the lengthy route of putting in a request or something, you can like simulate it in your computer, which is pretty cool. And I think there's a video for that. Yeah, this is what it looks like. So play. This is kind of what it looks like. It's not the best, but it's free and it's pretty cool. I tried downloading this on my computer, but I have to use my Ubuntu server to get it to really work. Ubuntu 2204, they use the newer version of Gazebo. The Gazebo legacy is old. I wouldn't use that. The newer version is pretty cool. But this is kind of what it looks like. It's flying a drone. So if you wanted to practice maybe like I guess packet injection, or you wanted to like see like what you're getting, like what the packets look like you can capture it here. I did want to go over Mavlink V1. I don't know why I put it here. There's probably some artistic reasoning behind it. But it's unencrypted and unsigned. Oh, the one thing I did forget to mention about Mavlink V2, which I do know there are slides about this later, so we'll probably cover it later. But it does use signing. It doesn't encrypt, but it does sign the messages that it sends. That's what it looks like. It's a lot smaller of a frame, and it does not include the signing, exploitation, testing. These are the 3 CVEs that are specific to, or these ones are the ones that are specific to Mavlink. They include the first one, which is Mavlink is not encrypted. No duh. The second one, Mavlink has no authentication. No duh. That's for V1. The third one is specific to V2. This one just says that since Mavlink V2 supports backwards compatibility with Mavlink V1, it is possible to perform authentication bypass by taking advantage of the backwards compatibility with V1. There is no patch, there is no update. It is just use Mavlink V2. And the third one is like use V2, but don't like use backwards compatibility. Like just use V2, and you should be fine. Oh, this I added this video. I found this online about a year ago or so. This is using Mavlink V1. This is a video of somebody that is performing a test. Like he's flying a drone. He doesn't jam the signal, but he just basically tells the drone to stop. He sends a signal to the drone saying, "Hey, stop," and the drone assumes that it's coming from the controller, and it just fucking lands on the ground. Oh, I mean, I just spoiled it, but it's like it's pretty cool, like just to think about. And then he goes over to his secondary controller, kill switch, boom. I thought it was pretty cool. Oh, I think he was the one that he was like one of the people that was like alerting them that like, hey, you know, like and by the way, if you are familiar with CVEs at all, you'll notice that these were posted in 2020. Dude, come on. Like we've been talking about this for years. Mavlink has known about this for a long time. I think they started posting about it in 2015 or 2016 on a bunch of forums, and the solution was we can't do that. Like we can't do anything about that. So that was the consensus. It's obviously changed when you get like when you post like a CVE, like things kind of change. The consensus from this: drones are everywhere. They're not going away. Drone swarms are not tightly regulated, but like I said, think of it like a ceiling, right? The government says no, you can get a waiver, but for the most part, there is no regulation around it because the answer is no. It's basically like going to your parents and saying like, hey, can I go out tonight? And they say, you can go out, but I want you to text me every hour to make sure that you're okay. I want you to be home by 8, and I want to make sure that, blah, blah, blah. They give you a bunch of like restrictions versus your parents saying no. That's basically what the government does. Reminder, I'm not an expert in drones. I can talk your head off about DevSecOps, about Linux, Arch Linux. But if you have any questions, I would like to be happy to answer them. If I can't, I'm just gonna be honest with you and let you know that I can't.
Do we know what caused that thing to happen in Orlando? What kind of attack was it?
Do we know what caused that thing in Orlando? As far as I know, it was an attack. It was not an attack. It was just a collision. And also, I just want to mention that normally smart people when they fly a drone, when they perform drone shows, they do them either over open water or they'll do them in an open area. There will never be people beneath them when they happen. I don't know why that even happened. Like, it's not very often that you see an accident happen. But when it does happen, and then there's also an injury, like it's a freak thing to happen. I can't. There's other drone accident videos, but I couldn't find any drone swarm accident videos. That's the only one that I found. It happened last year, and there was an injury. So I don't think there was an attack. I think it was just the drones just like they didn't they just ran into each other. It could have been like a communication issue. One thing I did not mention was centralized communication. So the way that this works, and I was supposed to explain this, but when you perform a drone show, right? The video about China said that all of those drones, 1,000 drones, are controlled from one laptop. When it says that they're controlled from one laptop, what that means is that the drones are pre-programmed to fly a specific show. You can create that in Blender. You can create that in a bunch of other software. The laptop essentially exists for them to start the show, and stop the show. So they'll have a button that'll say return, and then if there's an emergency, they'll return all the drones. There's also some other like I'm not an expert. I've never worked a drone show. This is just research, and then also from asking professionals. But that's basically what the controller does. The controller just starts the show and stops the show. They have no now. There are instances where they do have control over the individual drones. Like they can like if a drone doesn't come down right, they can obviously connect to it and manually land it. But like they're not going to do that under for reasons. But yeah, there was I don't personally think there was an attack. I think it was just the drones ran into each other. Any other questions? Yes. Two. You get them.
You talked about not flying over critical infrastructure.
Yes.
What if you're next to a public park, maybe funded by the power company, whatever it is, it's a tax write-off, and they have a substation right there? Are the restrictions straight up and down, or does it apply to like a buffer area off to the side as well?
So, there will be a map. The government usually lays out like has a map of what you can and can't fly over. When it comes to airspace, it is directly above. So, if you have like let's say for example, it doesn't matter if you fly 200 feet, 500 feet, 8,000 feet or whatever. Like obviously airplanes can fly over it, but for the purposes of a drone pilot, like you're not allowed to do that because you can't see the drone all the way up there. So yeah, no, critical infrastructure includes like anything. The federal government has maps that lay out where you can and can't not where yeah where you can and can't fly for like county and city specific ones, which I don't think there are any. They'll usually like Florida just says jails, don't fly over jails. Well, obviously don't fly over jails, don't fly over their property. But yeah, like you have to like consult their records. Was that the first question or yeah?
Maybe it's just like, I don't know if you ask someone else, but do the same laws apply to weather balloons and ionic crafts?
The part the not part 107 the regulations that we covered today specifically only cover drones. However, um it depends actually because what they define as a drone is an unmanned aerial vehicle. So your balloon, I mean, that is interesting. Balloons are unmanned. I don't think they are because they don't have any form of propulsion. I'd actually have to look it up. I think they have to have propulsion in order to be considered a drone, because otherwise it's just a glider, which there are no regulations for like flying like big gliders in the sky, a glider or a kite or a balloon. So I don't actually think that that you'd have to actually look it up. But the statute covers like everything. So
I have a highly specific question.
I'll try and answer it.
I co-founded a remote control boat company. One of the things we wanted to do was use a boat as a control node for Swarm Tech. Has that happened yet?
Yes, in Ukraine. Yes, they have used it in Ukraine. Actually, not long ago, you guys might be interested in it, but I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I could be wrong, but it was the first ever recording of a drone shooting down an aircraft. And what it was it was a sea drone that had a SAM missile attached to it, and the SAM missile shot at one of the Russian aircraft. And because they didn't fucking think that was going to happen. They couldn't. They actually. I think they shot 2 aircraft down. One, the pilot survived, and the other one, I think the pilot didn't survive. But it was the first ever recording of a drone. It's not a flying drone, but it's a sea drone, right? I can say that people have done that. What I can say that you do have to be careful of is if you're planning on launching a drone from a boat, that is.
You are going to do that as well.
All right, you need to sign. You need to fill a waiver for that. Yeah, that require because the federal regulation states that moving vehicles, moving boats, vessels, trains, anything that moves or changes its location. And the reason why that's important is because part of the thing that that like Mavlink and other drone protocols check is they check the launch location. And the launch location is very, very important to know where the point of origin of that flight started from. And if you're on a vessel, you're never going to keep that same like location. Like it's going to be one here and
You would have to have another solution for recovery.
If you do a remote return to launch, like return, well, no, you can't launch or recover from them.
You'd have your GPS problem.
You what?
You probably have to have a GPS waypoint.
Oh, no. Like you can. Well, what I'm getting at is that the when you DJI, for example, has it does this automatically. If the drone like loses connection, it can return to the waypoint from where it launched. And just like imagine your drone just like flying to its death, and it's just gonna land in the water. I have lost a couple of drones to the water. It sucks. So like you're just watching it go back to land in the water is kind of funny. But yeah, that you do need a you do one. I can answer that for a fact. You need a waiver. They're not hard, from what I understand. Um, you would need. I'm assuming the person that's flying the drone, like you have a drone pilot, right? They would need their Part 107.
So the idea is that the boat would be the control system that would fly the drone.
Yeah, the person that flies the drone would have would have to have their Part 107 also.
The boat would be the brains.
So the boat is controlling the drone. You can't do that. That needs a waiver because, like I said when I covered Part 107.35, is that you have to be directly in control of the drone. Once you perform either a pre-planned flight, like you're telling the drone to go up, go here and land, or you're telling it to, hey, go over there, and it just does it on its own, no longer is a human in control of that. That requires a waiver. So yeah.
In the future, goal is for someone to huck one of these off that side of the destroyer.
Yeah.
And then buy boat.
Yeah.
And then leave it.
Yeah, that is pretty cool and interesting. I'd be actually interested to know more about that after this. So yeah, cool, sweet. Any other questions? I know I have like a minute or two. I will go real quick. What's up?
What would you recommend for drones, considering DJI is what they are these days? Is it mostly just build your own sort of stuff?
Build drone is fun. I would say DJI is not a bad company. I wouldn't mind buying them. If you want to get into drones quick and fast, you want to learn how to fly, buy DJI, buy Maverick Minis. They're really, really cheap. You can buy Maverick Mini 2s or 3s, they're fine. I would recommend, it depends on what you want. Do you care about getting in the sky quickly as possible? Okay, so then build one. Build ones are great. It's just like the question is, do you want a game or is your goal to build a gaming PC? Because if you want a game tomorrow, but you've never built a gaming PC before, I mean, you might as well buy one pre-built and then just upgrade it, right? But yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, that was the question? Yeah, just yeah. I'll
With regulation stuff, like, what do you think, the government could do to, need help with, you saw, you showed the drone swarming video, and it was like, this hasn't happened yet, like, that's our future, obviously.
Yes.
Like, there's a big risk of that, like, what do you think we could do as a civilization to make things better in that future?
So it is going to be tough, and this is actually interesting because this is kind of where drones kind of go in with like guns as well. I didn't mention on there. I'm a huge gun advocate. I used to be a firearms instructor. I own like a ton of guns. So the same question gets brought up with guns a lot. Like you could 3D print gun parts. Like you can literally do so much. Like you can like it's like, oh yeah, we can't manufacture this part. Cool, I'll just fucking make it at home. Like eat a dick, ATF. So like the question becomes like, it's safety, right? At the end of the day, the government is there to protect the public interest, right? Just like with gun regulations, the idea is to protect the public interest. So they reduce the availability of something that makes it harder to get, but it doesn't make it impossible. So what the government should focus on, I in my opinion, I think like what I said earlier, putting the information on the fucking drone boxes, requiring companies to inform people, hey, you can't do this, like you can't fucking just shoot your drone up in the sky 500 feet. You can't just fly over like large groups of people, right? Like informing people. I think when you create fear and you create panic in people and you like you say like, oh, guns bad, right? Then what it causes people to do is to not become educated. But when you say, oh, gun safety, or when you say drone safety or drone awareness, what happens is it causes the public to be informed, and then an informed public can then reduce the risk of, yeah. I think they should take the same approach. In fact, I'm going to probably see what I can do when I get home to lobby people to try to put more drone education on products that they're selling in the store. It's a no-brainer. Why would you not require people to know what they're going to be using? So, question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, my family spends like a couple $1,000s twice a year, 4th of July and New Year's Eve for like fireworks. So would it be like cheaper, like, or would it be more efficient, like, to like create a drone storm, or is it pretty like regulated for the consumers?
It will not be cheaper. I think some of these drone swarm, like drones individually cost around $300 to $500. And if you wanted to create a light show, you're talking about probably 50 or around there to do that. That quick math is telling me that's $25,000
$3,000 for a year.
for a drone swarm. $25,000. Yeah. Okay. We are at time. Thank you so much for coming out.